All right, we are live. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Shannon. I'm so excited to have this conversation today. And for those of you listening, we have translation in Arabic, Portuguese, and we will have it in Czech delayed. So just wanted to let you guys know that. So today, Shannon and I are going to talk about creating your life. Gary Douglas has a call coming up, a 5-part telecall, and it's called The Advanced Exploration to Create the Life You Would Like. And I really like jumped on this energy. I love this energy because I love looking at my life and being like, I asked for that when I was a teenager and now I have it and I love it. Or I asked for that when I was, 5 years ago and now I have it. And it's really empowering when like you have like kind of a track record of you've asked for things and you actually got them and you actually desired them and you're like super stoked to have them. And so that's what I wanted to talk to you about, Shannon, today. Like, how did you create your life through asking? And what are some of the things that you asked for? Or, like, how do people learn to ask? Because asking is wrong in this world, asking is bad, it's greedy and selfish. But if you are willing to ask, if you're willing to use the tools of access consciousness, amazing things can become your life.
The first key step, I think, is just, for me, was the willingness to ask. And that's still to date a place I have to visit. Or when you're starting out, whenever that starting out point is, you don't have a track record. You have no reference point. You also, when you're young, there isn't a lot. Well, at least for me, the case I wasn't like, this is what's possible. This isn't what's possible. It was more sort of like, I have no idea what's possible. I didn't have a lot of structure. So it was just sort of like, okay, so if something's possible, what would I really like to ask for? And that's what Gary has really been such a huge contribution with forever, is to really remind me and to remind others, are you, number one, like, are you in question or are you in conclusion? Because the question is the ask, or are you in conclusion? And if you could ask for anything, like, what would it be? And if you could ask for your life and what you truly desire, are you asking? Just even, are you asking? And I love this conversation. I love that you invited me to this, Julia, because I'm looking at, okay, so like, what am I asking for right now? I'm 45, so I've accomplished a lot. I've achieved a lot. And just like you said, how you look back and you're like, wow, I asked for this thing 5 years ago and I totally got it. I totally created it. And I just asked for it. And I have a lot of that too, right? There's a lot of stuff that I asked for, things that, I would actually say that everything I ever asked for or desired or wanted, I've gotten in spades, like better than I even could have imagined. So now, once you have everything you've ever asked for, do you stop asking, or does your ask have to grow?
Totally. So, because a huge thing that I see getting in the way of people asking or receiving what they've asked for is the need to be normal and the need to be like everybody else. And so it just absolutely annihilates the ability to receive the ask. So can you talk a little bit about going beyond being normal and like upping your ask? I mean, I don't know why I'm putting those two concepts together. In my head.
Right. Well, but being normal is also an ask. One of the things that Gary gave me a long time ago, which I know he shared with a ton of people, and I don't know if it really works for everybody, but my gosh, did it work for me, and does it work for me? Which is, he said, do you have, like, how did he put it? Sorry, guys, the wind is blowing up here and things are moving around. Are you capable of having and choosing something that others aren't? Something along those, that was like the general question. And for a lot of years, I didn't really want to look at that because
I needed that.
I would be different, right? If I could have what other people can't, then I won't be like them. And after a while, I started realizing that that was a benefit and an asset, that I was exempt from certain problems that other people were having, and I had access to possibilities and I had to really go on a soul search for myself. If I was the only one who had this possibility, this energy, this freedom, this choice, would I want it?
I really needed to hear this today. This
All
is
right.
really amazing. Wow. If
For
I'm the
me,
only one.
I am more willing to have the possibility all on my own than
Yeah,
have
you are.
company. Yeah, that's so I don't know if that's like that's for me, I would rather have the magic, the mystery, the miracle, and the possibility all on my own than not. And I don't know if that's unique, but I do know that life is an ever expanding, you really get what you ask for, and life can be an ever expanding accessing of the mystery in which you never know how it's going to show up. You just know if you ask, it will show up. And Simone actually said this one time. She goes, if you ask, it will come. And this was like a million years ago she said it. And I thought, that's totally true. It might not come in this lifetime. It probably won't come in the way I think it's going to come, but if I ask, it will come. So then you have to ask, like, okay, so if people are asking for like $1 million or to be skinny or to have somebody fall in love with them or whatever people are asking for, and it's not coming, then how do you view that in the context of ask and I shall receive? So creation becomes creation through asking, creating our lives through ask becomes challenged by, well, I asked for this thing and then it didn't show up.
Exactly. Totally.
And so then you have to go to the question of, okay, so what if what you're asking for isn't really what's greatest for you? And this is where I think a lot of people, Gary's lessons on creation are extremely effective, but I've noticed over the years a lot of people, I think, disregard them because you have to become a companion and you have to cooperate with what's greater for all, not just what you think is the right, good, perfect, and correct image of what you think should happen. Because you aren't creating in a vacuum. We are all connected. So if I want to, have magically have $1 million show up, okay, so then what has to shift in the universe? If I want to have someone in particular fall in love with me or be acknowledged in a certain way, is that actually receiving or is that needing and lacking? So it becomes a much bigger conversation. Like the ask is the entry point, and then you have to handle your side of things, which is, are you asking for what you refuse to receive? And are you acknowledging if you're asking for something you're refusing to receive?
Totally. Freaking totally. Wow. And I had forgotten about, I used to ask all the time, and I had crazy, amazing things show up. What am I capable of that nobody else is capable of? And I'm not asking that anymore. I'm so glad that you brought that back up because that thing is powerful.
I really noticed and I yeah, thank you for hearing that. I really noticed that one, and I really had to learn that lesson a lot of times. And it was really apparent in airports where I'd be standing there and there'd be this like massive line of like congestion and problem, and then there was like this gate over here or this door that like no one was at, and I thought, why isn't anyone going over there? And I thought, am I missing something? And what turned out repeatedly was, no, everyone else, the door was there for me. I thought I must be wrong in that I can go this way because no one else sees it. But it was like 10 times in a row where I had this free exemption to go this other way. And I thought, okay, I think the universe is like trying to show me something. Like, where's the doorway that no one else sees that's totally obvious to me?
Wow. And I also want to draw out what you said about that you are exempt from problems that other people had. That's a really great term that I've
I
never
still
heard.
struggle with that one because it's so weird to not have the same problems. But if you take seriously the whole if it's heavy, it's a lie, if it's light, it's right for you thing, which is really one of the cornerstones and fundamental like learning tools of consciousness. If it's heavy, it's a lie. If you really apply that for real, my gosh, does your whole placement in reality change?
Wow. Wow. Does your whole placement in reality change? Oh man, that's so good. So, can you talk about how you have explored upping your ask, changing your ask, reworking who you are? Because I think, like, right now for me, there's places where I'm stalled out because I got what I asked for, I haven't acknowledged that I got it, and I'm not asking for
Mm,
something bigger. And I'm realizing that as you and I are having this conversation.
well, how much do you prioritize knowing what's true for you? Because knowing oneself, know thyself, it's, yes, it's easy, but it also can take some doing. Because there's a lot in life when we have families and we're in relationships and we're not necessarily living in families and societies. And I'm not suggesting that our families are not this, because both of us have actually chosen very different kinds of families
Yeah,
and primary relationships.
true.
But when you don't live in a society that, when you're not surrounded by a bunch of people who are seeking to know themselves and honoring your quest to know yourself, it can be very distracting. So you have to constantly put a lot of energy into like prioritizing your universe, which is energy intensive.
Ooh, wow. That I've never heard it put like that before.
Like if
Wow.
you're going to go for a run, it's energy intensive. And so you're sort of exercising consciousness, and it is energy intensive. It's much easier to just lay down and watch TV for 15 years than to constantly seek into a universe that you can't define or control, but you can be present with
So how do you do that?
by being present. I prioritize presence. Uh, I prioritize being present with not just like my universe, but like I prioritize presence.
Okay. With what is?
Yeah, which is sometimes uncomfortable because the presence doesn't necessarily lead to anything I can quantify immediately, which it would be much more comfortable. Like if I was present for 15 minutes a week, then it would equal XYZ, but you doesn't. You're present and then you have to just be present with the undefined, unconfined. But that's because my ask is so much greater now. Like my ask used to be, be loved, which to be fair is, to me, I needed to find that. And I did in my husband. And I finally was loved in a way that healed what I needed to heal. And that was the ask. Okay, I got that. Okay, now what? Well, I want everyone in the universe to be happy. What would that take? So when the ask is bigger, everyone would be happy. And I have vetted this ask repeatedly too, because I'm like, okay, so is that a big enough ask that everyone would be happy? And I'm like, okay, so if everyone was happy, wow, how would the world change if everyone was happy?
Wow.
How much more fun would life be if everybody was happy? And I'm into that. Like that's my ask. What would it take for everyone to be happy, right? But a lot of people's asks are far more personal. And mine, I have had a lot of personal asks, but I've had all my needs fulfilled. So now I just want to live in a world where everyone's happy. Is that too much to ask?
I like it. Oh my God. Wow. I am so glad that we are having this conversation. This is pulling things out and putting them into the universe that I don't know, just feel like they've been locked away or you're putting them in a row in a way. I don't know. It's just doing something really, really like important.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
Um,
me the title? Can you remind me the title of the class that he's got coming up?
Yes. So it's called Advanced Exploration to Create the Life You Would Like.
Yeah. And I love the way he's putting it too, because I wonder if people really take the liberty or give themselves permission to explore.
Exploration. Yeah.
Because a lot of people want to get it right, or they want to, make one choice and then have that choice work out right forever. And sometimes that is so, but a lot of times that isn't how it works. And we have to keep exploring. If our lives are going to be a continuous growth of possibility, which is an option, there has to be an exploration you can't see around every corner when you start. You have to summit that mountain, see what the view is like, feel how it went, and then make another choice.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. And you were talking about what being present is for you and how you can't be result based. And could you talk a little bit more about that? I'm like, oh, I want my result and I want to know what my result is going to be so I can judge myself.
Well, a long time ago, I finally surrendered to that consciousness could function well without me controlling it all the time.
Fair. Wow. Okay.
I'm definitely in the gifted child position, not in the I need to be the God that rules everything position, because that's exhausting. And it also is a dishonoring of the perfection of how consciousness works without me meddling in it constantly. Like, wow. I know that if I ask, I will receive. It's not ask and then figure it all out and then make it really hard and then maybe I'll get it.
Wow. Gifted child. I love that. It just articulates an energy of ease, of space.
Thank you, Julia. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, not at all.
We have to give, in my opinion, this is completely just my opinion, and it's also the way I function. We have to give the universe a chance to show us how it functions. So if we ask, we have to give the universe a chance to show up for us.
Cool.
And then we have to also be honest with ourselves of when it's a real ask and when it's an expectation or a projection or a judgment.
Right. Wow. Surrendering. Amazing. Wow. All right. Well, I am just so excited about this. This is like we're 18. This is our tidbit, but it's like, here's a universe if you want it. And with the advanced, what is it again? I'm forgetting it again. With the advanced exploration to create the life you would like, just before we go, can you just talk a little bit about, you touched on it, but can you talk a little bit more about how you actually know what you like? And like, because I feel like most people don't ask, or their ask is all weird because they don't really know who they are or what kind of creature they are.
Totally. That's a big one. Gosh, it's interesting you bring that up because I was just having a conversation with my husband like an hour ago about this very thing because he's super frustrated about not having something show up that he says and thinks he's been asking for. And we've had so many conversations about it. And I keep saying to him, well, what do you really, what is it you're actually trying to create? Or like, what is it that what really works? And he isn't connected to that in his world, which I have never had a problem like owning what works for me. Mm-hmm. My husband is far more interested in not making others uncomfortable. I don't really give a shit how people feel. So I'm not sure if that's a prerequisite. Because like how many of you guys listening to this right now have this thing of, if I claim and own what works for me, it'll hurt somebody else. I know that that's a big impediment for a lot of people.
Huge.
I don't think that's the only impediment. I just know that that's one of them. There's also, I think, a place to recognize laziness. People don't really want to own their reality because then they'd have to lead it, and most people just want to follow because they think that that's safer or something. Here we go. This is one of the questions and ways of knowing what did you say what works for me or what I like? How did you phrase it?
Well, I actually was saying, because the title of Gary's telecall is a
Oh, right.
end of it is the life you would like. And I
The
was
life
like,
you'd like.
how do you know what you would like?
Yeah, I
How do
think
you-
that a way that he'll probably talk about it in the class, and the way that he's really taught me over the years is, and if anybody doesn't know, Gary's my dad, so I'm talking about him in the context of, yes, he's a wise man who gifts a lot of that to those who choose it, but he also raised me, so I have a lot of my foundation is this way of functioning. One of the things he taught me that I think is invaluable is to look at what works. Now, how do you know what works for you? Well, you have to ask, does this work? And so over the years, I'd complain, I'd call him, I'd complain, I'd be like, complain about that, da 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 da, all these stories of problem. And he'd go, okay, so like, well, does that work for you? And I would go, wow, yeah, it totally does, even though I think it shouldn't or something. But if you're really honest about what works, then you tend to like your life a lot more because it works.
So true.
Because life's
Like,
never going to be perfect. It'll
like,
just work or it won't work.
like one of the things that he taught me is like, I need drama in my life. Like, I just got to have it. And so, like, how can you, instead of creating drama in all of these painful places, like, how can I create the drama that I require? And so, like, I started doing theater, and I started just being willing to gossip, and I started just being more dramatic and allowing that. And it created this whole, not only just like, it was this allowance for myself, and then this thing that was this horrible problem making thing that I was doing turned into a gift in my life, you know?
Yeah, isn't it so interesting too that it's so advanced to just know what you like?
Totally.
Most of us aren't taught to acknowledge what we like. We're taught to judge. Judgment is not effective for creation. It is a very stagnant stance, and it isn't creating. So Gary's really on a great mission to teach people how to create. And I think most people might not even realize they actually don't know how to create their lives until they start seeing repetitive, constant problems and chronic issues that don't change. That's a creative issue, not a problem.
Wow. Whew. So cool. Awesome. Well, is there anything else? This is just cool.
There's someone who wrote in, I have a judgment that anything I am asking must show up big, and this part of the not acknowledged it. Oh no, I don't understand. Maybe I shouldn't have read that. I didn't understand the sentence.
I don't know where the sentence is. Otherwise, I would try to.
Oh, really? I see it. Studio chat. I don't know why there's 4 people there.
Studio chat. Is it the
in the side of the?
Oh, that's the earth. Okay. I have a judgment that anything I am asking must show up big, and this part of the not acknowledging it. Oh yeah, I think she has like a judgment that if she asks for something, it has to show up in this big grand way. That's maybe like has a fantasy involved.
Oh, like she likes drama like you.
Maybe. Exactly.
That's great to acknowledge, right? Like, so dad gave Julia the hack of like, okay, so get involved in drama, but maybe not in your household and in your bedroom and in the most closest relationships. Although drama is fine there too, but is that really like the most sustainable thing in the long run for the family?
Totally. Totally. Because the drama, I like that you said sustainable, because a lot of the drama in that area was like gutting my relationship.
Yeah.
And it's not sustainable. It's not wrong, but it's like, where do you want to be in 10 years? you
Yeah.
know?
And is drama gonna create it?
Yeah.
That's interesting about the big thing too, because it's like, I mean, wow. I guess it's a matter of like, will you receive however it can come?
Yeah.
So that's being cooperating with the universe rather than putting your expectations onto the situation that don't honor the possibilities. Infinite possibility isn't just big. It can be big, but it's also might just be like this subtle expression of possibility. And is that enough for you?
Wow. Wow. So when you're not like, you talked, I want to ask you another thing. When you talked about doing, like, you're like, sometimes there is doing involved, can you just talk a little bit about that? Because I think doing is a misidentified thing.
Well, doing, in my opinion, is an advanced skill.
Totally.
Because if you do, you can do into slavery, like you could do your life away. And so if you don't recognize how to create, which is what Gary is endeavoring to teach people, actually how to create, you can tend to be doing to no avail indefinitely. However, if you do acknowledge the actions that create, and actions are a form of doing, if you do acknowledge the actions that create and the actions that are waste or distraction, then you usually don't have to make as much effort to achieve a greater result, but you learn that through exploration and trial and error.
Wow.
And again, it isn't really that complicated, in my opinion. If it's heavy, you're going the wrong direction. There's something weird there. Usually creation is light. It might be boring. You might have to be persistent in a way that you don't want to have to be persistent. It might take longer than your, give it to me right now mentality wants. But this is why it's so important to cooperate with consciousness or with energy rather than be in a like virtual reality of our own myopic disconnect from what works, which is unfortunately where most people are stuck. They're not really looking at what works. They're in la la land. They're in fantasy land, which doesn't create. You can't actualize fantasy, but you can ask and then choose for what works. And I feel like that's even frustratingly too simple. But it takes you to be honest where you're putting your attention first, I guess, is the.
Yeah.
I'll leave Gary to teach you guys that. He's a master. It's it. But any of you guys that do take the class that are listening to this, I just recommend listen. He might give you something that you don't understand or you don't like or you don't get it initially, but just listen, give it a chance. Because if you can eventually over time learn that way, I will say in my own personal experience, I will attest to the efficacy of his methods for creation. It's really, really, really worked well for me.
Oh, it's so cool. Well, thank you. My organs have readjusted themselves from this
Thanks
conversation.
for inviting me to this, Julia.
Just fun. Wow. And thank you, everybody. Yeah, I hope that you guys got something out of this or didn't. But it's like there's so much just here in this 30 minutes. You could take this back and just find universe upon universe and really powerful instruction. So, um, and we've posted the link to Gary's class. It's 5 parts and it starts, I believe, August 22nd. No, August 20th. Starts August 20th. So it's quite soon. And yeah, So thank you, Shannon. Super
Awesome.
amazing. So grateful. All
Bye,
right.
everybody.
Bye, everybody.